In this video, I thought I would clear up a few myths surrounding Taekwondo. Probably the biggest myth is that Taekwondo gets a reputation as being a kicking-only martial art. And to a lot of people that watch Taekwondo sparring, they see a lot of kicks being used. Certainly kicks are emphasized in Taekwondo, and you're usually rewarded more points in sparring for using kicks than you are for using punches. But when you actually train in a club, you'll find that while the kicking techniques do get quite a bit of emphasis, there are an array of hand techniques. There's as many hand techniques as there are leg techniques in Taekwondo. But what you usually find is that people are able to fight at least a little bit with their hands, even if they haven't had any previous training before. Whereas, on the other hand, people usually can't fight at all with their feet. And so it requires more training and more work to build up that part of the body, like to build up the feet and be able to develop those kicks, because usually it's not something that comes naturally. Most people if they're going to be proficient in anything, they're probably going to be proficient with throwing punches and doing some of the basics there, but they're not going to have side kicks and roundhouse kicks and hooking kicks and all those leg techniques. So it tends to take longer to build those up, and it also requires more flexibility, which again takes time to build up. So no, it's definitely not a kicking-only martial art. There is a great deal of emphasis placed on kicking, but when you're actually training in a class, you will see that there are as many hand techniques as there are leg techniques, and that's really saying something, because Taekwondo usually has a reputation of these dazzling kicks. I mean, when you watch martial arts demonstrations, you're seeing flying 360 kicks and all kinds of advanced techniques, but there are just as many hand techniques as well. It's just, they're not as exciting or interesting to watch, and so you tend not to see those in demonstrations and stuff like that. So it's not a kicking-only martial art. It is a complete martial art in that sense. Another myth surrounding Taekwondo is that Taekwondo doesn't have any grappling, and again, that's not true. There are some grappling techniques in Taekwondo. There are actually some hidden grappling techniques in the patterns that appear, and maybe I'll go into more information on those in another video. But when you look at the literature surrounding Taekwondo, you can see that there are a number of grappling techniques. They usually involve stuff like wrist lock, escapes, escaping from a bear hug and things like that. There are also defense techniques against an armed opponent. So somebody who has a weapon, whether it's a knife or a club or whatever in their hand, there are techniques against that, to defend against that in Taekwondo. There are some grappling techniques, but the philosophy in Taekwondo in general is that you don't ever want it to get to that point. You want to keep it as keep it to striking only if you can. So what usually happens is a lot of schools will teach Taekwondo, and then they'll also teach Hapki-Do at the same time. So both of them are of Korean origin. So you will pick up the grappling techniques from Hapki-Do, because Hapki-Do has a lot more grappling in it than Taekwondo does. Taekwondo has a very limited set of grappling techniques. They're very basic. It's just the basics in Taekwondo. So it is largely a striking-based martial art, but when you combine it with Hapki-Do, the two of them complement each other really nicely. So when you learn both of them together, then you are getting a complete system for self-defense. Thanks.